episode 3 of
Film School Lifeline.
Featuring
Roze.
Hey! Mark. Okay. Now that we did that, Roze, how are you today?
Hey, I am doing great. How are you?
We're great. We're so happy that you're our first guest.
I am so honored.
No
Truly,
way.
this is awesome.
Yay. Okay, I'm so excited. Yeah, when we were talking about what we wanted to do on this podcast, you were the first person that came to our mind.
Oh my God.
Because we know that you have been in film for a little bit in different capacity, but you've come back to school. You are here getting a director's master's, which is super cool, but also you're acting, you're writing, you're doing all the things. And so we kind of
Flight attending.
Yeah, okay.
Multi-hyph.
Yeah, I feel like you've lived 1,000 lives. And so
Yes, I absolutely have.
But yeah, okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, again, big question. I know we'll go into details, but just how did you end up in film?
Okay, where do I start?
Okay.
So I came out of the womb in May 15th, 1992. Growing up, I always knew I was either going to be an actor or a roller coaster engineer.
Whoa. Wait, okay, hold on. Brief side mission. Roller coaster engineer.
Yeah, so that was more of just like, I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon growing up. And I genuinely still love roller coasters. Like, if I had one more day to live on Earth, I would like bring all my family and friends to Six Flags with me. So it's like very much like, I don't know, it's something that I'm an adrenaline junkie in that regard. But I knew I wanted to be an actor like super duper 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 young before I even knew what acting even really was. I just like saw myself on TV, and I don't know why, but I always have.
Was there something that you watched that you particularly thought was like, oh, I could do that? Like a role that spoke to you, or just more that
I think it was more that I was always like just wanting to perform for people. I remember being super young, and my aunt, who was like 3 years older than me, so she's more like a cousin, she introduced me to Spice Girls. And there was a whole like couple of nights where we would just beg my mom to flash the flashlight on us while we stood on the washing machines and like performed Spice Girls for her. And like that was like something that I just like needed to do. I used to perform like anything and everything I wanted to, like genuinely just like innocent child like spirit. Like I would watch something on Disney Channel, like I don't know if you guys remember or know Bewitched. They were like okay. Yeah, they were first like they have a song on Smart House, you know. And like I used to perform like Irish, like what is it, step dancing or whatever.
Yeah, river
like,
dancing.
yeah, well they're not from Ireland, they're from Greenland, but you know, similar.
Yeah.
They incorporate it into their pop moves, and I would perform that, and I would perform literally the whole entire movie of Bring It On from front to back to my dad. And my dad used to sell drugs in the garage, and and he would have all these like guys come over, and they would like smoke weed in the garage.
But you gave him a little show.
And then they would come and sit on the couch and hang, and I would come out down the hallway, put on Bring It On behind me in the background, and just perform my little heart out at like 5-6 years old.
I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, and I still had to come out? Like, really?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so you always knew you wanted to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a theater kid in high school, or did you get involved in that kind of performance?
Yeah, so basically, like, throughout my childhood, my parents were really, really young, so I actually only grew up with my biological parents part-time, and they were busy my mom was starting her career, there was a divorce, we moved around a lot, so there was never really a time for me as a kid to like take acting classes or really get involved in any sort of performance field. So eventually I found a place on my own, ended up being a scam, and I did this like scam acting class for like 3 years in Las Vegas when we lived there for a little bit, and then in Phoenix for like a year or so. And that was my first time I like ever read like a side and like tried to be in a commercial. I think I maybe even auditioned for like Alien 3 or something. They like, I mean, I honestly don't even know if it was real, because this place, like if you look it up, it's called John Robert Powers. It's a shady ass place where they like make you pay a shit ton of money to take like bullshit acting classes, and they even try to get my mom in to like do like modeling classes. And it's like, again, they really take advantage of like at the time, like America's Next Top Model and all that,
Yeah.
which also a huge influence for me. And they just didn't. I didn't learn anything really.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You've taken your fair share of acting classes, and so now in hindsight, what is it? I mean, besides them trying to scam out money and whatnot, but what were you doing those 3 years that you didn't feel like you progressed, or?
Well, I mean, I guess I progressed a little just because it was literally an introduction to ever like holding a script before.
Yeah.
I was also like before middle school. This is like
Yeah.
6th or 7th grade.
Okay, so you were
Yeah,
young.
really, really young. So, I mean, it was sort of an introduction, but at the same time, it like, I don't know. I think I just stood up there and never got any like technical notes and like was told this is good, this is what it's looking for. Like never really got like examples of what I should be achieving. I genuinely did not know that like all the credits you see after a movie or after a TV show were jobs.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, trust me, this is gonna follow so well because I don't know if it was our first or second episode, but we talked about this because that was how I had an epiphany when I was in, and this is gonna be a repeat story for listen to the first episodes, but long story short, I went to this workshop at one point and the guy there, it was a filmmaking 101 workshop and I just happened to find myself in it. And the guy was like, your passions can become your profession if you're willing to work for it, which like has stuck with me ever since. But that's kind of when it dawned on me that like, holy crap, everyone that you see at the credits that everyone just wants to skip and leave from are real people making this all come together.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have some of these people, most of these people, you don't have the same movie.
Exactly.
And so I'm so glad that I wasn't the only one because
It just never well, I know you said earlier too, like you don't come from like a film family or like is your family artistic or?
So my dad is very musical. He's played guitar since he was little, and so music was a huge part of my life growing up, and still is like a huge influence to me. And our family went and watched movies all the time. Like if we were gonna go do something out of the house, it was go to the movies. But again, that was entertainment. That was like family bonding time, and it was fun, and we loved it. But again, it still never dawned on me that like, oh, here's me having fun. Someone has to make this fun possible.
Exactly.
And so that was a whole later story, but
truly, like the fact, all like the stuff we grew up with, all like the stuff on TV, I just like genuinely thought it just like appeared on TV. I had no idea it was actual thing that people made. Adults make money to make like kids TV, you know, Blue's Clues.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like we never understand the graph. It's just words on a screen to us.
Yeah, literally.
And it's just like, oh, all the fun stuff's over. It's just black and floating words.
I
It's
know.
just like,
and so many of the films that you watch growing up as kids, like once you start watching like the Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, whatever, it's like these are people that aren't all that much older than you when you're watching it. So you're like, oh, these are just high school kids,
right?
Like living their life.
Right.
It's not a production. This is just a slice of this fake character's life.
Yeah.
But it feels so real.
Exactly.
That again, you don't think about all these other
Wait,
things.
who were your all's first like celebrity crushes? Mine was Hilary Duff. I like genuinely had a crush on Lizzie McGuire, and I thought I like was in love with her. I even like snuck into the Lizzie McGuire movie on my 13th birthday. There was no more seats available, and like me, my dad, and my best like broy friend at the time, we like there was like we got to the movie theater. They were sold out, and I was crying because I genuinely was like anticipating the Hillary or Liz McGuire movie for like months, and so we snuck in. We found the three last seats, and I still remember like the other party of three came in looking for their seats, and there was none available. They had to turn around.
You earned it fair and square.
Honestly, I had to do what I had to do, and it
That
was.
a
it's
mission
on,
and you accomplished
it's on
it.
them for getting there late.
Thank you. And this is before assigned seating in the movie theater too, so they just had to like stand there and look around, and there was no seats.
Gosh, assigned seating is like both the best and the worst thing that's come because of that. Because
I like it.
It's great because you can show up and guarantee that you have spots. But the anxiety that
It
comes
is
with trying to
insane.
find a good seat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the Virgo and me always like to get there early
No,
and
yes,
like
yes,
at the end. That very much
absolutely.
comes from my mom. Like
Yeah,
she was
I
very much
mean-
like that, and so
Same way with airline stuff. But wait, so celebrity crushes as a kid?
honestly, I didn't have a lot of like crushes as a kid, but I would say like I was always very fascinated by Hermione when I watched
yes.
when I watched Harry Potter, and watching Harry Potter was also such a funny thing for me because I wasn't allowed to watch the movie until I read the book, and so my mom, I would read the first book, and then I was allowed to watch the first movie, and then I'd have to read the second book, then I could watch the second movie.
Wait,
all the way through.
so you could be more literate, or?
Well, I mean, my mom's a huge reader, and honestly, those books are so good that like.
Yeah.
I appreciate that she did that.
We don't like you, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, no. That's why I was like, oh.
but
Harry
also
Potter universe is
the impact it has on us is different. In this, there are ways to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the world of Harry Potter.
Yes, exactly. I get it.
Emma Watson is just, she's beautiful, and like gorgeous. I think as she's like grown to, again, she's older than I am, but like it's cool because she is so unbelievably intelligent. Like if you've seen her, she does so many things with like United Nations and
I know. I think she like left acting or not really left acting, but like got her degree from Brown or something. Yeah.
So incredibly smart, and so I still have low-key a crush on her. So
I mean, who doesn't?
I think I don't know. I don't think I ever really had like a celebrity crush when I was a kid, and that wasn't really like it wasn't really like an indicator of sexuality for me. I feel like my indicator of sexuality was just powerful like female roles. Like I listened to Wicked a lot growing up. My mom would always be like, "Why do you always sing the female parts?" And I was like, "Because they're good." I don't know. Like I'll make the male parts better.
Because they're the fun parts. Yeah.
No,
truly.
That's so funny because I think for me, figuring out sexuality had a lot less to do with like people and way more to do with in the flip side of that. Where in elementary school, when they're like, "Which strong boys can carry this desk?" And I'd be like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna go with it, and I would do that.
Yeah.
And then I was very much like a tomboy growing up. Like I was super involved in sports. I would always like try to beat the boys in races, and I would, and it would be awesome because they would be so sad about it. I'd be like, cry.
Yeah.
No, I love that, but I also like relate to that. I feel like when I first like picked up a video game and we played like Street Fighter, the character I chose was Chun-Li, you know? Yeah. Like there's no other person.
Why would you choose anyone else?
Exactly.
No, yeah, I would always choose female characters for like Mario Kart.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. To this day, truly.
Especially Mario Kart Wii, when like female characters had like biker suits for the
bikes.
Yeah, how am I not supposed to choose
I was into the girls, but I think that's valid. So
I feel like the first time I noticed like someone on a movie or a TV show like being attractive to me, I don't think like it's like I don't even think it's like a celebrity because he was like an extra. But there's like this.
That's so real.
But not like extra, but like he was like. Okay, it was in Pitch Perfect. It was one of the Troublemakers.
Wait, which one?
Oh my god, he doesn't even have a name is the thing.
So it's just like he's in the background.
Just the vibe.
He kind of like had like the kind of pointy-ish hair, and I think it was like two-toned.
Oh my god!
I still think he's attracted to this day. I remember watching Pitch Perfect over the break. I'm like, yep, he's still got it.
Oh my god, I love that. That's like
I was just
the
like,
background actor.
No, I know. I was like. Why am I blushing? But no, that's like one of the first times I like recalls like, but then.
Oh my gosh! And the scene in Pitch Perfect when they're singing in the shower, and she's like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" But she's like,
"Yes."
You're like, "Okay, interesting."
Yeah. I think my first so I had a crush, but then I think I had like a sexual awakening to the film "Dude, Where's My Car."
Oh my gosh.
It is like
Ashton
and raunchy, and Sean something. He's like the blonde guy who's in American Pie. He was super big in the 90s.
Yeah.
But it's just a super raunchy boy comedy about like stoners. But I think there's a scene where like Ashton and the guy pull up to a red light, and then next to them there's this like a hot guy with a hot girl in a Corvette or something, and then like they just like start trying to one up each other, and eventually the guy kisses the hot girl. And then so like the two guys make out. I might be making this up, but like this is how I remember this because I remember like there's just genuinely I think this is a new experience, and later on I found out the experience was horny.
That's so funny.
Oh my god.
But okay, we talked a little bit about that. Going back to a little bit your journey to acting. You were acting, you were taking these classes, you said you moved around a lot. The last one you mentioned was in Arizona. When did you find yourself in California?
Oh, okay. Well, fucking that's a long story. But, okay. Essentially, I did high school theater, and I was like all about it. I think I just like started auditioning, and like the first like role at my high school, I like got the lead in the play. And then I was like, oh, I guess like I got it, you know. I think I was first like understudy at a different high school first, but then I don't know, it came like sort of effortlessly to me. And granted, the pool was not very I have no like definitely no one else, and I don't think anyone else in my high school or from the area that I know of is continuing acting, so I don't know. But regardless, the competition was not very fierce or anything.
Okay. Do you remember what the role was?
Yeah, my first, so that role, that lead was the narrator or something, and it's a Neil Simon play called, is it called The Good Doctor? It's like basically I'm just sort of like monologuing between these like vignettes of like things that happen, and it was really funny. I have the play, I haven't reread it actually. I just recently rebought the play just to be like, oh, I should like use this to like connect with myself. And so that was like the first thing, but then this is how acting goes. You're on a high, you feel great, and then you audition for the next thing, and your ego's just crushed because then I found out I like couldn't sing. And like while I still got like a role in the musical, I was never like a lead again, basically. Yeah. And it always like crushed me. So I left acting after high school because I didn't know that like I could be a film actor.
Acting but that makes sense because I feel like when people are introduced to like acting in the arts in that way in school, it's only through like theater, and it's like, yes, they have plays, but a lot of it really is musical theater, and so that is obviously like a really cool world. But all my friends who were actors and had interest in maybe acting all went that route, like went to school for musical theater, and I think now as they're getting older, there might be some people I know who are transitioning more into film world, but like it makes sense because it's the only world you kind of know of for a while.
And also like in context of like the time, I was in high school like 2007 to 10 or so, or 6 I guess, and that was when we've had internet in the home for a while, but like now I had like my own computer and I was able to surf the web on my own, you know. And so I think just by like the way I've discovered everything is just to be like, oh, I've heard of Prada. Like, let me Google Prada. And then it leads me to understand, like, all the fashion brands. Same thing with, like, oh, I've heard of Wicked. Google Wicked. Next time you know I'm on Playbill. Next thing you know I'm reading the New York Times. Next thing you know this is that. And, like, I just ended up in that direction. And then I became obsessed with Broadway musicals at the time. Like, my 16-year-old birthday was, like, a very, like, formative experience because I had been wanting to go to New York for years.
You're kidding.
So my parents surprised me with like tickets to go see like one of the last shows of Rent on Broadway during the original run. God. And so I got to see it before it closed.
That's crazy.
And then while I was there, they have like the last minute tickets or whatever. Yeah. And I got to see Leah Michelle and Jonathan Groff at their second to last performance of Spring Awakening by myself.
No way. That's crazy.
Like that to me, and the fact that I was there, and like my parents let me like walk around walk around Times Square. As a 16-year-old, like I don't know, I just felt like okay, like so empowered by it all.
No, but that's so funny because for my 16th birthday, my mom took me to New York City and I saw 3 Broadway shows, which is hilarious.
My god, that's amazing.
No, I saw Book of Mormon was the one I really wanted to see. Dear Evan Hansen was on, I think it's like second cast, but it was still pretty new, and we saw it. And then we saw Chicago, which has been on run forever. But like, it was so cool, and it's just so funny that 16th birthday.
16th birthday. I know. I love it. Yeah.
No, but seeing Rent is probably my favorite musical of all time.
So at the time too, especially like I would come home and put on like a DVD every single day after high school, and like it was either gonna be Rent, like the DVDs. Yeah. Sorry, but then that or Marie Antoinette, Sofia Coppola's. Like those are my only 2 DVDs on rotation.
No, but I was so Rent. I didn't watch it until it was on Netflix for a while, and then they took it off, and I was so mad. Because then I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I
I
don't
remember
have
that.
it.
Yeah,
I
I remember
watched
that.
it a lot. I would make my brother come watch it with me, even though he loved it, so it worked out. But
Genuinely, I'm a little scared to like rewatch it now because now I'm like, am I gonna still like it as a? Well, not even like it's sad. I just mean like, is it a good movie?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I know the musical is iconic and
Yeah.
forever ingrained. Actually, I auditioned for Rent this last summer for the role of Angel, like at a big production.
Oh my gosh.
And like just getting to play Angel for like even just an audition or two. I had like a couple music classes and I rehearsed with some folks. Like just getting to do that role was actually also like a really embodying, like getting in touch with like my inner child that like left acting around actually right after high school too.
Yeah.
So to go back to that, like I left acting after high school because I like just genuinely didn't know what my options were, and I thought if I wasn't going to be on Broadway, I'm not going to do anything because like there's no other route for me.
You don't know if there's other things.
So I was like, you know what? I know I like art. I know I like the arts. I know I like to write. So I studied art history in undergrad, thinking I was going to be like literally Charlotte from Sex and the City. Like that was like that was the trajectory. I don't know why I'm going with like the lamest one, but like that's where I was like, okay.
I feel that
I
because,
get it, because-
I always say, like, I tell people I went pre-med, but it was specifically to be ortho, like Callie Torres from Grey's
Oh,
Anatomy.
bitch, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. So like that's I just I don't know what my parents obviously like didn't know like acting stuff or art stuff in general. My high school wasn't very like encouraging. My professors like just kind of like reminded me I don't have a good singing voice, stuff like that. So I was like, well, I guess I won't act. And then honestly, for like most of my young adulthood, I like really resented films and like literally Los Angeles, everything. I just like I don't know, I was projecting all of this like insecurity, I think, onto film and like and acting that I just like I don't even think I saw a movie for like 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, wait. So you went to the University of Arizona.
Yeah, in Tucson.
And then you graduated in what year?
I did 2 years of undergrad.
Okay.
So I finished in 2012, and then like 2 weeks later moved to New York.
Gotcha. Okay, tell us a little bit about how long you were in New York, your time there, what you did.
So the first time I was in New York, I went because I started interning at MoMA. And so I was like doing stuff there. I got some freelance work at different art galleries, literally thinking I was going to go down this route.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly, never having lived somewhere that has like a real winter, from California, Arizona, Vegas, to now having to be on a subway and then in an office all day, never seeing the sun.
Yeah.
I genuinely was like so depressed and like didn't realize at the time, but I didn't have a language for it. But I was just like so terrible. So that's when I did a year of that and fell in love, had a boyfriend, got my heart broken, and then I became a flight attendant.
Okay.
So at 21 is when I went to Dallas for like 5 or 6 months for training, and then also I was based there for like a month before I moved to Miami for.
I know.
Look, there are things I like about Dallas.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
No shade to your hometown. But Miami then for 2 years to just like fly, and I don't know, I spent like 2 years in Miami, then I moved back to New York for 2 more years, and I basically feel like I spent all of my like early 20s just like traveling and like getting to know myself and being a shit show like every freaking corner of the world. I went to like 30 countries.
That's so cool though. I feel like that's such a formative experience.
Honestly, yeah, I feel like that was my most like.
And obviously you were working, so it wasn't like you were just off doing whatever, but like going to all those places, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was working, but when we have layovers in London, like we, or Sao Paulo, like you find ways to get in trouble.
Yeah.
No one has to know about those. We can talk about those off mic one day. So my mom's a pilot, and when I was in New York, my mom was like, I really got to a point where I started feeling like resentful that I haven't been doing anything creative.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant for me, and I didn't know like what it was. So my mom was just like, why don't you try to become a pilot? I can like help fund some of your private license or whatever, and see if that like opens up something for you, basically. And if you like it, good. If not, then like no problem. Like I just want you to try it. So that's very, very, very fortunate,
No, yeah.
privileged gift to
100%.
be able to have that. So my mom was funding me getting my pilot's license as a pilot. I got to 100 hours of flight time. I was going to school in Phoenix and living in New York.
Ooh.
So I would fly back and forth between Phoenix and New York 5 times a week or so, just to go train. And then it got to the point where I was ready to take my final check ride to get my pilot's license and my privates. And when I did the mock test for it, I just completely flopped. And then the next day Trump got elected.
Oh.
And that's when I felt I don't know, the world, I think everyone felt the world just sort of crumble underneath them.
2016
yeah,
was quite a year.
It was I think everyone was just grief stricken, and a lot of stuff came to light. So in retrospect, that's a good thing. But also,
it did feel very much like Doomsday in a way.
Yeah.
It was just.
I remember where I was.
And the thing is, I was young, but that was my freshman year of high school, early freshman year, and that's when I was trying to obviously make new friends and figure out. And again, what do you know? I was 14, so I was young, but it was tough, and that's when I learned that a lot of boys in my school were really gross. And I remember the day he got elected, because he got elected whatever, that Tuesday night or whatnot, and on that next Wednesday morning there was a group of boys from my school who brought a Trump flag and took pictures in front of our school. They got in trouble. Our school was primarily we did a mock election, and our school was very liberal. It was 75%, 25%, but there was a very strong group of individuals, and it wasn't just boys, but there was particularly these group that would just do that. I remember, I think I cried because I was I didn't know how to handle the emotions, and was stressed, and I was at 14, even I knew that was rough. Yeah,
I remember actually I was coming back to Phoenix that day, and I had to connect to Chicago, and I remember the Chicago airport was dead silent. It literally felt we were all at a funeral.
That's wild.
But then I got on the plane to Phoenix-based crew, all these older white blonde ladies, and they were fucking partying. And I was I literally was sitting in the back of the plane crying the whole time.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Craziness, but at least it did at that point be what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I actually doing? I know I don't want to be a pilot. I liked it, but it was I could see myself doing this as a hobby, but very expensive as a hobby.
Yeah, as a hobby.
Once I make all the movies and all the things, I can I can do that. But it basically was you know what? I'm signing up for an improv class, and starting from ground zero again, because that's the first thing you do in high school theater.
Yeah.
Is you just do improv.
Yes, and
get comfortable.
Exactly. Just on a stage.
Things, acting. I mean, it can feel so awkward sometimes, I think, at first, especially if you're not super confident in yourself. You're oh my gosh, trying to perform when I don't even know what I'm thinking.
Well, but honestly, I still have that. I had an audition yesterday, and it went fine. I'm just genuinely at a base level where I know I can perform what I need to perform, but I still left feeling I didn't do a good job and super insecure about it, Yeah.
Okay. Now, was this improv back in New York?
Yes, so I started at UCB in New York. I did one class there, and then actually pretty quickly, I was boom, boom, boom. I gotta do this improv class. Okay, I gotta move to LA. I gotta figure out an acting class there.
Honestly, props to you, because that's a difficult thing to do. Move across the world, and to honestly, when you're in such a slump and you're just so unsure, picking yourself up and trying to move forward is so hard. So the fact that you're no, I'm gonna do this, and you do it, that's so impressive.
Well, I think part of it too is I think I was 25, so I was you know what, I can do this now. Give it a couple years. If it flops, it flops. I can move on to the next thing, and so far it hasn't flopped.
Okay, so we're totally gonna skip past a couple things, but.
Okay.
I want you to tell us a little bit about your favorite role that you maybe have done, or a memorable role. You don't have to say pick one favorite. But then I want to hear a little bit of what brought you to Chapman, because obviously that's how we've met you.
Yes.
You in first year grad, which is so fun. But
I love
we
it.
kind of want to hear about that too.
Okay, well, my favorite role, my first role I got to act on TV was really, really amazing. It's pretty small. But I got to set. I didn't know what a mark was. And we had to do a 3-page oneer. It was like 1, 2, or 3 pages.
Your first role?
Yeah.
First of all,
that's
congrats on
wonderful.
booking that.
I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
That's theater.
no, exactly, actually. But so yeah, they like so yeah, it was basically a oneer where the DP or the camera operator does like a full 360 around the room, and me and the person that I was the tailor to this person, and the person's pretending that the other person who's talking in the scene that she can't see him, and I generally can't because he's dead. So, but this person is like a demon and can see real people who are alive and not alive. Anyway, so the cameras are going around the room, and I just like I had one line, but then all of a sudden I had all these new actions I had to do, like win the space and like know exactly where to be, and like I also don't know how to even sew a button, and I'm a fucking tailor. And then
was this your role in Lucifer? Is that the name? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was your first role?
That was my first role.
That's
why I did commercials and stuff a little bit,
yeah.
but like actual like acting and like and yeah, it was cool because I just kind of bullshit my way through. I just pretend I knew what a mark was, and like I went where I was supposed to go. The camera operator got a little frustrated with me, but then like we figured it out. And at the end, I like told the actress I was working with, Leslie Ann Brandt, and then the director that like, all right, this is like my first acting day ever or whatever. They were like, oh my god, and then they took selfies with me, and they're like, you're gonna have a great career and like all this stuff. And, like it was really awesome. Like they took off their masks and like we all took a selfie. It was cute. So I don't know, I just felt like really 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 good after that, and like super small role, and I want to do more, but like it was just like another like big step, stepping stone.
Step in the right direction. That's it's huge. That's really big.
Yeah.
Oh.
But then with Chapman now, so I guess when did we apply to school?
So
a year and a half ago?
Oh my god.
A year and a half. Yeah.
Wait,
it was 2022.
So it was 2022, and it was open from basically September 1st to like December 1st.
Yeah.
So that range of time.
Yeah, I think that summer is when I was I finished an acting class in LA, started getting a bit of work, more auditions, and then COVID happened. During COVID, I got a writing degree at UCLA Extension, just like as a little certificate to like. I was like, well, if I'm going to be a better actor, I should know how to write. Yeah. And then writing then also led me to be like, well, if I know how to write and act, like now I want to learn how to direct. And so I took like maybe 1 or 2 directing classes at UCLA, and I kind of felt like everything just fell together. All of a sudden, all of a sudden this like harmony of everything I've always liked. Like everything from like literally like having to like paint like hands on the ground to just figuring out performance to like analyzing a scene to even like acting, because I feel like the best directors would do anything that they make their actors do, you know? It just made me be like, oh, this is like the harmony of like all of the things I love. And so I was like, well, why not apply to a directing program and see what happens? And so I applied to the ones basically all in Southern California. AFI, USC, Chapman.
Did you apply to NYU?
No, because I didn't want to move out of LA. Yeah, I didn't even think about going to NYU or Columbia or anything like that. So I stayed here and then got into Chapman. Then Chapman was just like the most generous. Oh my god, this is gonna sound like an ad for Chapman. But like out of all the schools, like when I came for my interview, I literally felt like so embraced right away. Whereas like other schools were like, so why do you want to come to our school? You know,
like, what can you do for us?
In a way, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, just felt kind of gatekeepy about it. I got to the lobby at Chapman waiting to be interviewed, and then I hear somebody, Jill Finley, one of the writing instructors, she's like, Rose, and I was like, hey, she was like, how's your mom? How's your sister? I read your essay. I loved it. Like, I need to know, like, how things are. Like, I feel like I know you. Like, it just immediately was like, OMG. Like, this feels so good. Had a really chill interview.
Oh my gosh.
And then, yeah.
And you know.
I just, like, moment. Yeah, I genuinely, I actually had I had 2 interviews that day. One on Zoom in the morning and then this one in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, I was like, duh. Yeah. And plus, it also, like, out of all the ones, like, I feel like even though now that we're in it, it does feel like we have a lot of, like, guardrails around what we're able to do. I still feel like we have a lot of freedom compared to other programs.
Yeah, 100%.
So So yeah, that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna come to here and figure out. At first I was like, I'm gonna drive from LA to Orange County every day. Obviously that didn't work out, but yeah.
But yeah. Well, okay. Similar to what you're saying about the interview, I guess not with the interview, but stepping onto Chapman for the first time was when I moved here because I didn't get a chance to come see Chapman, and cinematographers didn't get interviewed. We just kind of had to hope and pray.
Really?
Yeah. For those who are considering applying as Chapman, if you don't get an interview, that's completely fine. Directors get interviewed.
And I think maybe producers did.
Yeah,
I honestly don't know,
but like not all directors got
I don't
interviewed,
think
and some still got in.
editors
So
did. I
like,
don't think
yeah.
cinematographers did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
cinematographers
really
did.
understand how that works.
I
don't work in admissions. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, first time I stepped foot on campus was moving here, and my mom drove up with me. We did the whole 2-day, 20-something hour drive.
Yeah.
And the first time actually having to step foot like on campus was something for orientation, and you were actually the first person that I met.
Well, because we were
like Instagram
we were Instagram
friends.
buddies, and
And you had given me some really great advice because you were like, because I was like, I've been to Southern California, but I've never lived anywhere but Texas and Oklahoma, and so you're like, well, you definitely need your car. You like you gave me all this advice, and I was like, okay.
yeah.
And so I remember that, and then I was like, there was a couple people I think I followed on Instagram, but you and I were like really one of the only ones that had talked.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna actually have to meet these people in person, and I'm a social person, but even I was really intimidated because I was like, wow, I'm gonna be so like young compared to everyone. These people have like so much life experience. I don't know if they're gonna get. I was worried that people were gonna like me because they're gonna be like, oh, she's a child, and I was like, no,
the fetus is here.
Please.
But then when I think you came up to me when I like walked in because I was like, oh my gosh, definitely glazed eyes.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my gosh, Amelia, hi. And it was so sweet because then I felt very embraced, like you said. So that's just such a fun memory to know that.
Oh yeah.
You feel very loved.
That makes me so happy. Yeah. No, I was so excited to meet you. I was like, oh, yay! Like this person I've like met on social media. Like it's like it felt like all of a sudden it felt like this is real. We're here.
Right.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a sweet experience.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm super so far. Okay, so here's where I'm at with film school. I was talking about this the other weekend where I was like, part of me is like, okay, I'm gaining a lot of stuff. I'm learning for sure. I'm feeling constantly inspired. That's all great. But then also I'm like, if paying a lot of money, I'm like, why? I could be doing like this on my own. Like I just flew with the flight attendant who I'm obsessed with, and she's a filmmaker, director, actor. She like, I think a year or two ago got her, a sound person and a DP and 2 actors, went to Italy for a month and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Rented a big apartment, and then also got a permit in Italy. It's like $35 to be able to film anywhere.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah,
As
long as you have a small crew, like without trucks, basically. And shot a movie in 28 days. And like put it together, and like that's like just something that she did. Granted, she did film school as an undergrad a while ago, but also I'm like, damn, like I could just be doing that. Like I could literally just be like making some money and then like going to make a movie, right?
Want to go to Italy this summer?
Yeah.
No, like actually, genuinely, I do want to talk about this, but
Off mic.
yeah, but then someone else was asking me about MFAs, and they also have had some work in like the field now, and I was like, go back and feel like you really want to be in school.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't in school and if I was doing that, I would be wondering what it was like to be in school.
Yeah.
You know, and like I think vice versa now. Yeah. Now I'm like wondering what that's like, but I think if I go and do that now, I will just be like 10 million times better at it.
Yeah. I kind of agree because I had very little film experience prior. I was on one set that was actually like really right before COVID hit in 2019. I was a senior in high school. I was in this organization at my high school that it was weird, but you basically had to go get a mentor and you had to do the reaching out. It was a very professional like organization, which was nice. And so I reached out on a whim to this one guy who I found through a small production company that mostly did like commercials and advertisements in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up meeting him, like asking if he'd be willing to just talk about like his profession, and met up with him in Dallas one day, and we ended up talking nothing about what he was doing at his job. He was like, this is my day job, and he's like a filmmaker, director, writer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you actually met me at the perfect time. I'm shooting a short film I've been working on for a long time. It was like in 2 weeks from whenever I met. And he was like, if you want to come on set, come help out, do whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like that sounds so cool. And that was my first ever set experience. And it's really the only set experience I had between then and coming to film school. But he made a short film called Manos de Oro, and it was incredibly good. It had a good festival run.
That's so cool.
He ended up getting something like I wish I knew the specific, but some sort of like
award,
grant or fellowship or something with Warner Brothers, like after doing incredible things.
Get it, girl.
And his newest thing is about to come out any day now, actually. But it's just really cool because he was a great mentor for me in Dallas. Oh my god, where was I going with the story? What were you just talking about? Film school.
Yeah.
And
this podcast.
And I think with that being my only set experience, and then not like knowing much about the Dallas film scene, I think for me like film school has been so beneficial because like I'm learning all these things about like how sets are run. You know, you have all these different positions that I didn't even know existed prior. Like it's not just like a director and the person shooting with the camera. You know, like
right, exactly.
First AC, second
all
AC,
these all these things we see at the end of the movies. There's our positions and jobs.
I always wanted to know what a best boy was. I'm like,
oh my god.
I'm like, he's just the bestest boy.
I have a funny side story about that.
No, you're good. And so then I remember like being here has been so helpful in learning that, but I totally get what you're saying where it's like I know I still have so much to learn, and I think for cinematography school's been really beneficial because we have access to resources to learn. Because I think one of the hardest things about learning camera side of things is if you don't have said camera or equipment, how do you learn? So I think that's like a huge benefit. But I will say in terms of like getting on sets, now I feel much more confident trying to go into freelance or the real film world and be like, I can step on foot and not be clueless.
1000%. No, I feel like every set I've seen y'all on, you just get on and like you know what your role is, you go and you do it. Like you two have always, I don't know, I've never like had any doubt in anything that y'all have been up to. Yeah, for real. The funniest side story about the best boy thing is the first 3-2-1, which is our first assignment here, where we have to do 3 pages of one scene in one location with 2 actors. I had a scene with a boy and a girl, and then one of our cinematographers in the program, Mia G, comes up to me in the class and is just like, hey, I'm going to be your best girl on set. And I was like, oh. And then she's like, yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry, I already cast that role. And then she was like, no, like electrician or whatever. And I was like, I generally was like, Mia, I didn't know you wanted to act in this. I was like, didn't Shenbai tell you? Like,
oh my god, yeah, she's
so
sweet.
Great. Yeah,
and that's also so funny because there's no way she would ever want to act.
Yeah, I know. For this thing, I think that's why I was also so surprised. I'm like, okay, girl, you want to act?
Get it.
Let's go.
So funny. But okay, I think we need to start wrapping it up. Okay. But before we go, what is two questions actually. What is one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self?
Oh, damn it.
I know. And then the other question is, what do you want to speak into existence in the future?
Okay. Advice I would give to my younger self. I think maybe leaving high school when I was in that space where I didn't think I could actually do this was, I think I just wish I had somebody to be like, here's how, like, I don't know, like, it's possible. What is the advice for that though? I think
that's huge.
I just needed like a hug, you know?
Honestly.
Yeah, I just needed like a hug to be like, hey, like, if you want to do this, you can. If not, like, that's okay. Take a break or don't come back or whatever. But then just someone to be like, open the curtain, like, here's what's behind door number 2, like of where you could go, you know, not just door number 1 Broadway. Like, there's other things you could try. Like, this whole world exists, and I guess it's also like, in retrospect too, and I believe this about so many things, especially like with acting, is like, you can like literally just practice at something and figure out a way to be good at it, And like you're gonna know if it's for you or not.
Yeah. Like
that was my film school journey. Also, it's like if I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna just choose the path of least resistance, and that's what Chapman ended up being for me. So, and I feel like the same thing with you with like the cinematographer. Like you just like met, and next thing you know you're on a set in Dallas. You know, so I think just noticing when you're coming up against walls that like that oftentimes are just not there. Like, you know, noticing when you're forcing it, noticing when it's just coming with ease, and following the stuff that comes with ease. So
that's great advice.
Yeah, I would say that's something that I wish I had. And then, what was the second question?
Well, actually, now I forgot that I had a third one. But I was gonna say we'll end with you saying what you want to manifest in like for your future. But
okay.
Tell us about your outfit.
Oh my god, I was gonna ask you about your outfits. Okay, so I obviously, because I know this from your Halloween costumes, but I'm a cheerleader. Yes, you're the campers. So I woke up today and I was like, what is like queer coded cinema that I want to like represent? I actually went through Letterboxd and I was thinking like what I actually had in my closet, and then I clicked on Troop Beverly Hills. And I just like rewatched the trailer, and I like remember like that might have been one of the first like introductions to me of like what queer adjacent and literally campy movies are. And like, you know, it's about like a Beverly Hills housewife who's going through a divorce because of her cheating husband, and like becomes troop leader of her daughter's Girl Scout camp, and like all the Girl Scouts have their own like cool like characterizations of personality, but it's also like just like so like heavily gay coded. And like I wanted to be a camper so bad, as much as I wanted to be the troop leader, and so I'm dressed as her. I mean, I can show you a picture. Which have you all seen this movie?
I have not.
Oh my god! Actually, I would love to have a movie night and watch it, because it is literally, it's from 1989. It is literally campy.
Have to.
And
wait, I've seen
with
pictures
the hair.
of this.
I have two. Definitely.
It used to play on the Disney Channel, and that's where I first saw it. It was on Disney Channel.
Oh my god, Disney Channel playing something this cunty.
Oh my god, well yeah, it was
like,
super duper cunty.
No, it's so good.
For context, we're going to be doing this with every guest we bring on, but we asked Roze to pick a theme of outfits to wear, and he chose queer cinema, or something queer cinema adjacent. It could be campy, it could be something that inspired queerness in us.
Yes.
Yeah. So which was so fun, because our first 2 episodes that we've done, we just did color coordinating, which we're gonna keep trying to do on our solo episodes, but it's fun to like see what the guests want.
Oh,
I was so glad
I love that.
Yeah. Like I said, we did, but I'm a cheerleader for Halloween this past year, which was so fun, and I was like, perfect reuse of the costume.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I wear the shirt all the time now, but
actually, truly, I wear everything I have on. Never haven't seen wearing together, but I wear it all the time anyway. But yeah.
Roze, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Are we manifesting?
Oh yes, manifest.
Yeah. Well, okay. What are you manifesting?
I wasn't ready.
For the turn back.
It could be. I mean, it could be anything.
I'd say like my current manifestation is just I know that my next project is gonna go well.
Yes.
We're gonna manifest next big project. The planning is happening. It's going well. And even things, if they don't go to plan, it will still go well. That's what I'm manifesting right now.
I think mine is a teeny bit broader, but it's that I know that I will leave here doing everything I set out to do.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Leave here being Chapman.
Well,
not this earth.
Why not this earth? Like, I'll keep it going forever. Yeah.
But for Chapman, I go
Yeah. We'll start with Chapman. Yeah, I've been reminding myself of that too, because I feel like I got a little lost at the end of last semester. Like, it was so stressful that I forgot I came here to like take big swings and try a little bit of everything, so that I know exactly what it is I want to do. Like, the 2 main goals for me were to come to school to hone in on my voice and to meet people. And so far, like, doing those things, but like always a good reminder to do that, to know like what you came here to do, and so you can leave feeling like you did it all that you wanted to accomplish. Okay, what am I manifesting? I'm manifesting a lifelong, beautiful, fulfilling, challenging, and rewarding career in film.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, well, again, thank you so much. And this has been
Film School Lifeline.
You guys are adorable. I love this. Thank you so much.